Hey, so I'm just gonna add Mercy into the live. It was supposed to be the other way around, but we're having some technical difficulties. Oh, she actually has to view it to go live, so just wait. There's always a lag with live as well. I'm so glad it's Friday. I'll just wait for her to join. It says hold on. People being told that I've gone live. Yay! Okay. Just waiting for Mercy to join us now. It's actually letting me.
Ah,
Yay!
hello. Oh, wow. Okay. Can
Let
you
me
see
put
me
the
clearly?
question box up. Thanks to everyone who's tuning in at the moment. Oh, the question box is just at the bottom anyway. We've clearly done this before, right?
Oh, gosh. Okay. You can all see me clearly?
What's the sound like? If you can hear us, give us a thumbs up.
Oh, how late? Well, 5 minutes. Okay. Ah, so guys, I wasn't able to find out how to do a live because my the layout has completely changed. And being me, I found this out like exactly at 8 o'clock. So Lizzie's hosting it, but hopefully we'll be able to like post this later on. Okay. Can you hear us? Can you hear me? Lizzie, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Can everyone else hear me? Hear Lizzie?
I think it's all working okay.
Okay. Okay. Ah, well, it's our first live.
Yay!
And it's okay. Oh, Shitty, hi. Oh, okay, good. We're going to wait for other people to join, or if not, it's just going to be the six of us. To be honest, that's like one more person than I thought.
No.
That's one more person than I thought would show up. Um, do you have your snacks? Do you have like something to be looking at when we're talking about nutritional labels?
Was I supposed to bring something?
Well,
It's
I
okay
feel
because I'm a nutritionist. I've got nutrition labels just in my head.
well, yeah, I've got a whole table of things for you to teach us with. Oh, Pam, what do you have? Wait, does wine, do drinks have? See this? Yeah, so this is a interesting question. I didn't look at drinks. Do wine and alcohol and those stuff have nutritional labels?
They will they don't have to have the same nutritional information as food, but they will have some like content information on. But that's probably for like a whole nother live, like covering drinks and alcohol.
You and your alcohol. I know a few people who joined that one. So yeah, I have a whole I've got 3 types of butter, I've got bread, I've got cheese, I've got some avocado. That's an interesting fact.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've got, I didn't know potatoes had nutritional labels on them, so I've got a packet of potatoes.
I think it depends like where you buy it because
So
obviously
yeah,
you can buy them loose as well, can't you?
so we're gonna look at potatoes and see what kind of, if they tell us how much fat they have in them. Okay,
Hi,
who's
Mom.
who's joined in? Hi, Liz's mom.
She Should we do some intros? Like, because not everyone will know who we are.
Yes, yes. And as the guest, and now the host, Lizzie, you go first.
Okay. So hi, I'm Lizzie. Um, I'm a nutritionist. I'm a qualified nutritionist. I did my bachelor's and my master's in nutrition. And I'm also a chef. So I love food, like everything to do with food. Mercy will know, like whenever she comes around, I'm always cooking, talking about food. Like this kind of discussion is what we'd normally have on like a normal evening anyway. So um but yeah, I'm trying to think what else. So I have my own nutrition coaching business. Um, I don't know if my internet's gone a bit funny, but I'm just going to carry on anyway. Oh, there we
Oh,
go.
sorry. Sorry about that.
No, I was just saying, I have my own nutrition coaching business. It's called NutriCoach or NutriCoach Mama, which is what I'm known as on here on Insta. And I see clients on a one-to-one basis. I am currently putting together an online course all about how to put recipes together, nutritionally balanced recipes. So this is like a little taster of that as well. I do loads of stuff to do with nutrition. So I've had academic articles published. I like writing different blog articles. And I work on a freelance basis for different companies as well. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Yeah. Actually, I think your mom was saying you can happily spend any time in the supermarket just looking at food, right? What the original idea I had for this video was going to be like a vlog type thing where Lizzie and I go shopping, and it was just going to be picking whatever is off the shelves and looking at that and looking at what the contents is. But Corona. So yeah, instead we're doing it this way. And I went shopping yesterday, so I do have a few things. So we can kind of do that as well. To anyone who doesn't know me, actually, well, Medk, that's my name on Instagram, but my name is Mercy Kaiger, and I've been doing medicine and healthcare for I think about 13 years now. Like it's about to show my age since I was since I was a teenager. I started with medical science and then I did biomedical science. And then last year I graduated from med school and now I'm doing public health. And I think that's where my kind of love of teaching health comes from. Because the more I keep learning these things, I'm like, wait, I never knew this before. Do other people know it? And if they don't know it, is there a way I can tell this to them without using the hard, complicated language of medicine? Sometimes you look through the books and they use ridiculously like long words. And I'm like, nobody, unless you've gone through that system, you're not going to know what it means. So I try to give health and medical, not advice, more like education or just awareness, and just like, guys, do you know this is what this does? And I think these are things that we have because it's our body, right? I have a body, it's going on in me, it's going on in you, it's about you.
Yeah.
And whatever's going on in you. So that's why I named my videos You and Your, because you've got it, I've got it. So I'm always like, do you know this is happening in you right now? So I usually nerd out a lot when it comes to like healthcare, and when I learn something new, I'm like, I need to tell somebody, do they know about this? But yeah, so that's why I'm here today, because I've been talking about fats. And that started with me reading a chapter on hyperlipidemia, just a big word for too much fat, too much lipids in your blood. And when I read it in this book, it's very clinical. It's very like you go to the hospital, you get your blood test, it says this, this, and this. You need to lower this. This is the medication. This is how you treat it. And usually I'm like, okay, but why does it end there? How does it end there? Like what happened before? What caused this? So then I kept reading. I kind of have to read backwards and be like, okay, so someone comes in with too much fat in their blood. How did that happen? When did that happen? Like, how could you have stopped it before that point? And then that's when I got into the science of fats. Like, what are they? What actually are they? What do they do in our bodies? And I did a few videos, and then Lizzie, that's why I wanted to do this with Lizzie, because I'd be like, Lizzie, so what food has this and what food has that? So she's actually kind of gone through teaching me some of these things and kind of looking at labels. So yeah, hopefully this will also be helpful to you guys as well, because a lot of these questions are questions I've had and still do have. So yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of it gets left out, doesn't it? Because like you're saying, even like, so you've trained to become an actual doctor, and like nutrition hasn't been a massive part of it, has it? Like,
Exactly. And that's what I'm like, wait, how comes there's this whole other side of healthcare that's not in the medical books? And there's a whole science to it as well. It's not just like, sometimes I feel like, you know, if you're talking about, there's certain things with people just saying for because it's trending or it sounds fancy. It's like,
yeah.
this is clinical, this is scientific, it's clinical, that the types of food and the types of things that you eat do affect your healthcare. And that's where I come in. So I'm like, why weren't we told about the things before? Why aren't we taught the preventable aspects of it?
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I end up saying to a lot of people, like what I explain isn't groundbreaking stuff. It's stuff that you probably already heard,
Yeah.
but it's actually applying it to you and your food, you and your fats. So,
And
yeah.
a lot of it as well is just not, I've known a lot of like, we've grown up being told reduce the amount of fat, the amount of salt, not too much sugar. We know all of this stuff, but then it's like, but why? But this tastes good, so why am I gonna, just because somebody told me not to, why should I not eat this? Because we don't understand the direct effect it has on our health. And the more I've read into this, I'm like, I never knew this. 13 years studying all of this, and I'm like, wait, that's why we're told not to have trans fats. Oh, that's what it means. So I do have a lot of duh moments when I'm studying this, and it's hoping I can help other people understand it and help make better choices.
And I think that's something I just want to say as well. So, in terms of my stance, Mercy's heard me say this so many times, but there's no bad foods. And I've got a 3-year-old daughter, and this is how she describes it. I think it's really, really, really good way to describe it. There's no bad foods. They just do different things in our bodies, which is so true. Like everything
Hi,
will have a
David.
function. But yeah, everything will have a function. So I know it's like quite trendy, and it's an easy way to recognize good fats and bad fats. But for me, how I like to describe it is helpful fats and fats.
Yeah, yeah. And well, if you've watched my videos, I kind of do break down the good cholesterol and bad cholesterol. And it's not that bad cholesterol is a poison. It's not
Mm,
that it's something that's not LDL, which is termed the bad cholesterol, is not a poison. It's not something that's, if we have it in our body, it's going to kill us. It has a function in our body. It takes the fat that we have and it carries it to your body to be used for wherever it is. It's when it's too much, when we have too much of it, and now it's basically just swimming around in our blood vessels, and like there's a whole process where it ends up causing the thickening and plugging up of your blood vessels. So it's not bad. It's just when it's too much, that's when it becomes destructive. And it's like the fat in our food is also not bad. That's why it's always about moderation, right? So it's like,
mhm.
if a certain amount is healthy and useful, it's when you go over that amount. And then with the issue we have with chronic diseases is you have that over a long period of time. Like having something with trans fats today is not going to suddenly kill you tomorrow. But if you're having it, you know, for 10, 20, 30 years, then it's going to have some effect
Yeah,
on your health.
yeah, definitely. And also, like you're saying, it's the type of fats, isn't it? So our bodies need fat. And again, that's something that sounds really simple, but because we've been almost like conditioned to think, okay, fat bad, sugar bad, like not all fats are going to cause you harm. And
Mm.
like our body needs fats to function, doesn't it? So like omega-3, for example, that's like a really trendy one that people probably heard of, that really helps with brain function. So there was a study, I can't remember the year, maybe you can post it in our links or something, but there was a study on school children. They gave some children like omega-3 supplements, which is a fatty acid, right?
Mm.
Yeah. And some children did not have any. It was just not part of their normal diet. So it wasn't that they were restricting them, because obviously otherwise they wouldn't get any ethical approval for that. But basically, long story short, the children who had the omega-3 supplements performed far better than the children who didn't have it. And this was this was a longitudinal study, so it was done over a long period of time.
Okay. See, I always heard that. That's another thing. I've always grown up with like, yeah, omega-3 is good for your brain. So you should, if you want to be smart, you should be eating things with omega-3. And this is where, when I went to buy my chia seeds yesterday, I don't eat fish because omega-3 it's one of the unsaturated fats that comes from, it's a polyunsaturated, right? And you get it mostly from oily fish.
Mm-hmm.
Or there's some like seeds. There's omega-3, there's flaxseed. Is it pumpkin seeds as well?
Yeah, not as much as chia or flax, but it's also in sunflower seeds, like basically seeds and like the tiny little bits that you get in like multigrain breads and things like that.
So I don't eat seafood. I'm allergic to seafood. And so it's like, well, clearly I need some omega-3 because as I'm studying this, it's, do you know when you learn something and you're like, oh, but I don't like fish, but I'm not going to force myself to eat fish. So I went to get some chia seeds and I made, it looks disgusting, but it's actually not that bad. I made some chia pudding.
Oh yeah.
So I put this, some chia seeds and some almond milk. And then I put a little bit of cocoa powder as well. And then I in the morning, I had that with some fruits on top. And it was actually pretty, okay. That's my sister. I'm not like technically allergic to seafood. I just don't like the taste of seafood, and I've not liked it for a long time. Like even like the smell of it, it makes me wanna gip a bit. So I can't. So I tell people I'm allergic because if you tell people you don't like it, they'll be like, oh no, but you've not tried this one. Just try a little bit. Oh, but you've not. So if I tell people I'm allergic, then they just don't give me any. They actually like, no, don't eat that. It's got seafood.
It's true. She doesn't even eat fish fingers, so you know.
So thanks for calling me out, Betty.
Another thing that we were hinting at earlier that my mum just put, there's lots of nutrition myths that go around, and so if I can scroll up, it'll be there. Was told to eat a portion of oily fish for every alcoholic drink. Yeah, that's, if there's a scientific study behind that, send it to me. I'd love to look at it. But there's nothing that I'm aware of.
Maybe that's the only way I'll eat fish after a few drinks. But but yeah,
I don't think that would be a good combination.
Oh gosh, yeah. So this is my alternative: chia seeds, and trying to make it delicious. And this is the way I'm trying to incorporate some omega-3s, because yeah, I've not been getting them any other way.
So the body will actually metabolize that differently to the naturally occurring omega-3 in fish.
Really?
Yeah. But as you don't eat any fish, it's better than not having anything, you know?
Yeah. So I'm like, that's a step closer. And you see, I'm always like, whenever I do these videos, I do read for a while, but it's only like you can never know everything. And as I was like, I can't do a live or make a video about this by myself. I need someone else who has a lot more input. Yeah, guys, I'm not having fish and wine. Like he said, that's
That's
just gonna
good.
be. Oh, I'm gonna stick to my chia pudding. I
Um,
printed some.
so I was just going to say as well with omega-3 and oily fish, but obviously some people choose not to have fish, not because they're allergic, they may be vegan or
Oh yeah,
vegetarian or something. Um, the like national guidelines in the UK are to have at least 2 portions of oily fish a week, but if you're not eating any fish, then it's to have at least 3 or 4 portions of the omega-3. um have supplement every day if you can, but to have 3 or 4 portions of adding it to your food. So you've got the chia pudding, you can do that.
yeah. So
um
these are the seeds that I got from Morrison's. I think they're about 2 pounds. I don't know if you can see the chia ones. And I also got it says, I thought that said miffed omega-3, but it's milled omega-3 seeds, and it has linseed, pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, goji berries. Yeah. So it's like,
so
I guess.
it can be added to a lot of things.
Mm.
Like it's really easy to add it to like dry things like flour and stuff like that. That's why you see it sometimes fortified in bread or cereals. Spreads is another thing.
So you see, the rest of you guys who are allergic to seafood or vegan or don't eat any fish, there's other alternatives. And I think this is what is interesting with nutrition. And especially the more I talk to Lizzie about stuff, she'll be like, oh no, you can have this instead, or there's another way you can get that in. A lot of these things are not just in one. I guess this is why it's called superfoods. It's not like there's one specific thing that's going to provide that nutrient for you. You
Yeah,
can find other ways to get it in your body.
that's another like really buzzy thing, isn't it? Superfoods, like label something as a superfood and then you can add like an extra £5 onto the price and then
Yeah.
hype it up in the marketing. But anything can be a superfood, really, if you think about it.
Pam
Salmon,
asked,
yeah.
yeah.
Oily fish, salmon, mackerel, sardines, basa even. It's not like if you don't like the flavor and texture of normal oily fish, basa is quite like cod or haddock. But yeah, I've also got a porridge recipe on my page that I add chia seeds to. And if you do that like at least 5 times a week, that will give you the amount that you need as well.
Mm. Well, let's get into nutritional labels. I printed some off, but then I realized, again, with my technical issues, there was no colored ink. I don't know if you can see. So in the UK, this is what we usually get on the front of packages, right? So this
Mm-hmm.
this one is red, this one's white, this one is orange, this one is orange, this is green. So that's like a traffic light system, right?
Yeah. It's called the traffic light system and it's on like it's supposed to be on all packaged foods. But as we were speaking about the other week, Mercy, it's only as useful as your knowledge of what's in the food as well. Because
Yeah, yeah.
what was that for? Or were you going to try and get me to guess what it was for?
I just got it off the internet. I was like, it's just an example.
What food is it for though?
Oh,
Not a
Guild
burger.
Burger.
Okay. I can't read what it says on the red one.
It says 5.9 grams of saturated fats.
Yeah, so when you're looking at fats, I was trying to explain this the other week, wasn't I? So you've got the overall amount of fat, so that was what, 13 grams?
Okay. Yeah, so here's like a full one. So this is what in the UK you might get at the front of the label, right? But then usually at the back you get like a fuller one like this.
Yeah, where it goes like per 100 grams or per 100 milliliters.
Yeah. So you
If you're
have,
going to be comparing products, it's much better to compare the like for like of amounts. So per 100 grams of one brand of peanut butter to another brand of peanut butter, for example. And then you've got the overall amount of fats.
Yeah, so this
That
would be
one
the
has
total,
given
right?
it, yeah, that one has given it as a percentage. I don't think products have to do that here in the UK. Sometimes they do, because obviously it's a really good marketing thing to make a claim, oh, it's only whatever percent fat. So there's some, for example, yogurts, when they have low fat or
Mm.
whatever fat yogurts, they might have, I guess they might say like only 1% fat or 0.5% fat. So say even if there's 1 gram of fat in the yogurt, you're going to think, oh, that's nothing. Then you look at how much saturated fat is in that. Sometimes it can be as much as like 0.9 or even
Yeah.
a whole gram. So what I'm trying to say is look at the overall amount of fat and then look at the amount of that that's saturated, because it's the saturated fat that is going to clog up your arteries and everything that Mercy was explaining in her videos and what she was talking about earlier as well.
Yeah, so here you have like there's like the, hold on, I'm trying
So
to navigate. There's the
that
total
total
fat,
fat is 8 grams and then
and then
saturated fat is 1. So that's very low in saturated fat. So all of the other fat your body will be using for different things. I'd
the,
have to look at the ingredients to try and figure out exactly what it's going to be doing.
yeah, so I find this is the thing. It's not all nutritional labels are the same. So if
No.
you learn from one nutritional label, then you're like, okay, I understand this now. Then you go to a different one, and then that's what I've seen. You'll have some, they'll break it down into it'll say fats, and then it'll also just show saturated fats.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, okay, so what's the rest? Is it there's trans, is it showing trans fats? Is it showing unsaturated poly? So I
Mm-hmm.
saw this one, which breaks it down even more, right? So
Yeah.
it shows you in this what amount is the polyunsaturated fat and which one is the monounsaturated fat, compared to like the one we've just seen where it just breaks it down into saturated or trans fat.
And I think even if it just breaks it down into two, that can be still quite useful. But what is really confusing is the traffic light system when it comes to fats, because you could have something like, say, your chia seeds, if it had the traffic light thing on the front, they're quite high in fat, but they've got next to no saturated fat in them. So it would still, if it was a traffic light system, it would come up as red for that label.
Okay, so actually, yeah,
Just look at
looking
that.
at my chia seeds,
Mm.
the total fat is 26.6 grams per 100 grams of
Mm-hmm.
serving. Of saturated, that's only 2.6. Of polyunsaturated, and that's the omega-3s, that's 21.6. So out of the 26.6 grams, 21.6 is omega-3s, is polyunsaturated, and that's what we're looking for.
Yeah, that's what you're trying to feed your body. So, like, I don't think there's a traffic light thing on there, but if there was, that would be quite unhelpful, wouldn't it? So,
Okay.
if you're looking at something that gets it is peanut butter. So, that's one of like my bugbears, because I think it's so high in useful things for your body. So, and it's really easy to just grab and spread on something or just spoon in your mouth, but it'll come up as red for the fat
Mm.
because it is high in fat, but it's going to keep you fuller for longer. It's going to give your body the fats that it needs, and it
Okay,
tastes
so the question is, we don't want to be saturated. So because
good. Okay.
there's the there's daily guidelines, daily what do you call them?
In different countries, they're called different things. So, as an overall arching thing, it's recommended daily allowance that most people probably
Mm.
recognize. Um, but again, because there's different variations, there's no like gold standard. So it could be that on one label, if it's from, I don't know, America, it goes by reference nutrient value rather than the daily
Yeah.
guideline allowance, because that then might have a lower percentage of the recommended amounts of fats than the other one, and then they can say, oh, it's only 5% of your recommended daily allowance, or it's all to do, a lot of the labels are all to do with marketing, and it can be really confusing.
It's confusing for you, and you're a nutritionist.
Exactly.
You're a nutritionist. So for like someone like me who's like, okay, let me get into this, and I'm like, yeah, I get it now. Then I go to the supermarket and I'm like, what is good? Like, am I having too much of this, or should I just make sure I cut it out and everything is fat free? But then let's be honest, foods with fat just taste good.
And you, like we were saying earlier, your body needs fats anyway. Like your body's not going to
Right.
be able to function fully without them.
So yeah, so this has been okay. Let me show you. We needed to get some butter, and in the house we currently have this Flora original, and it says it's 100% plant goodness. And from the videos I did, most unsaturated, most of the good fats are coming from plants and fish. They're like plant-based. The saturated ones are more from animal products. So this, I was like, oh, plant-based, that's good. That's going to be like great for me. And then as I was looking yesterday, trying to get some more, I come across the same product, the same company, and it has Flora Light. So I'm like, okay, it's light in what? It must be talking, because since it's a butter, I'm like, it must be talking about fat. Then I look like the next row over, they have Flora Proactive, scientifically, clinically proven to lower cholesterol. I'm like, oh, so what's the differences between these three products, which are all from the same company, but they all claim to do different things in terms of fat. So I was I was just stood there in Morrison's looking, and I have all these butters around me, and I'm like, oh no, but this one has 0.5. Oh, this one that has this, and I was just confused. So I just bought these two, and I was like, I guess they have this one, because you say to look at this one has per 100 grams.
Yeah.
Fat, it has total fats, it has 45 grams. This is the light. The clinically proven to lower cholesterol has 35 grams. So like, oh, okay, that's good, because this has less fat than this. So in terms of saturates, this has 13 grams. Clinically proven to lower, it has 8 grams. Do you know what? I just stopped looking because I don't do maths. Because I'm just like, okay, so now you have to start looking at ratios and like, okay, so 8 grams of 35 is, I was like, well, I'm just gonna go according to the clinically proven, like the label at the front, because the label at the back, it's just confusing me.
For them to be able to market it as clinically proven, there will be studies to actually prove that. They may have funded those studies, but there will be studies that have proven that. That's in the UK. Like in other countries, you can put those claims on and it's not as regulated. It's different in different countries. But in terms of trying to work out the ratios and stuff, you had it exactly right. So it's looking at it like for like of the unit, so per 100 grams. And for me, like I'm a visual person, so I like to have, I was trying to like visualize it in my head. But the one that's that says clinically proven to lower the cholesterol, that did have lower overall fat and saturated fats in.
Yeah.
And so you don't have to actually do any like ratios in your head in Morrison's. Like you can just like it is as simple as, okay, that's the amount of fat, and then you're looking at the amount of saturated fat that is lower when you compare it to their standard one.
Okay. And yeah. So yeah,
But
like,
if it's something else, so that's a spread, so that's comparing a spread for a spread. So, and if you look at the ingredients, it's probably, I don't know, like different vegetable fats and things, is it?
The ingredients are water, plant oils, sunflower, rapeseed, palm, salt, emulsifiers, vinegar, natural flavoring, vitamin A. That's for
Yeah.
this one.
So if you're ever confused with the numbers, that's another thing that you can do. You can go to the ingredients and have a look. So we were talking about it before, and I think somebody submitted a question about it, about different oils.
Yes.
There's loads of different hype around different oils, especially coconut oil. And I
Yes.
know we've both looked into this, haven't we? So coconut oil is being held up on this massive, like, high pedestal. It's a superfood. It's going to do this for you. It's natural,
Do you know what?
etc. And then palm oil has been pushed down here. Palm oil kills the rainforest. It's so bad for you. We shouldn't be using it, etc., etc. Nutritionally, they're on the same level.
Yes, so it's
They're
usually palm
high in
oil
saturated
is the
fats.
bad one, and coconut oil. Like, I hadn't been in the UK for like 5 years. So when I came back before this, trying to get virgin coconut oil was like, you have to go to those special stores somewhere like in town, and you have to pay a lot of money to get this coconut oil. And then I came back and it's everywhere. It's in Home
It's in
Bargain, it's everywhere, and it's so cheap. And I was like, wow, people really got into coconut oil. And I guess most black girls will have coconut oil for our hair. Our hair loves coconut oil. So yes, the hype for coconut oil for our hair is great, but for our health, it's actually, because you actually the one who told me this. You were like, coconut oil is more saturated fats than unsaturated fat.
It is. I wish I had my tin here, but yeah, it definitely is. Maybe we can do a post together on it. But no. So I'm not saying palm oil isn't high in saturated fat. Palm oil has as much saturated fat as coconut oil does. And also with coconut oil, if you're like bothered about the environment and stuff, it destroys the environment just as much as palm oil does as well. It's just hidden a bit better. But that's probably beyond my nutrition scope. It's just a little book there that I have. But in terms of oils, other vegetable-based oils, so, and sunflower oil, which again, people are like, oh yeah, when you think of sunflower oil, you think of like pouring it in a deep fat fryer or something. Like, sunflower oil and vegetable oils are not high in saturated fats. I'm not saying you should drink them.
This is another one, again, you told me about, and I was like, oh, I didn't know this, because olive oil is like the top oil if you're wanting to cook with. It's like olive oil is the best, and virgin olive oil. And then you're like, yeah, but sunflower oil is also, and the more I was reading into it, it's like sunflower oil and olive oil, are they at the same level in terms of like cooking with them and in terms of the fats they have?
So they have different amounts of polyunsaturated, monounsaturated. What did you say, sunflower and
Olive oil.
the olive oil? Yeah. And someone just asked as well, in terms of like, there's virgin and extra virgin and first pressing, fourth pressing. A lot of that stuff isn't going to make a difference in terms of what it's doing inside of you. It's more to do with the taste and the color, and sometimes the texture as well, in terms of olive oil. I know it sounds a bit weird, but if you have a thing of olive oil, you'll see you have the, I don't know what exactly it's called, but the stuff that goes to the bottom of it, and you have to like shake it up a bit.
Yeah.
It's just how it's been produced, but it's not going to make a difference to what it does inside your body. That's not to say that I'm like against coconut oil or even palm oil as well. Like, I think I use it for things sometimes when I want a coconutty taste, or I just feel like using it, but it's not something that I would personally choose to use every day in my cooking. just for my skin.
Yesterday, I also bought coconut milk, and I hadn't even looked at this before, and I looked at the back of it, and I didn't bring it with me, but it does have a bit more saturated fat than I really should have compared it to like cow's milk. But yeah, so is coconut milk the same as coconut oil?
No, it'll be different because they're two different products. They're from the same, obviously not, but they're going to be different. But I actually compared soya milk to semi-skimmed cow's milk this morning because I was like, let me have a little look. And that's, again, where the traffic light system is not very useful because there's a higher amount of fat in soy milk compared to semi-skimmed milk, but semi-skimmed milk, the amount of fat, most of that is saturated fat. Soy milk, I think it's like, say, for one glass, there's 5 grams of fat. I think 0.8 was saturated. So that's not a lot when I compared it to the cow's milk. It was mostly saturated fats.
Because cow's milk is an animal product, and that's going to produce more saturated fats than soy milk, which is a plant product.
Exactly. And you're getting the soya from that as well, which is, I know there's some people who can't have soya because it can increase the amounts of estrogen and stuff.
Yeah.
But there's obviously other plant-based milks, like you like almond milk, don't you?
Yeah.
But in terms of comparing them to coconut milk, the way that the coconut milk is produced always produces more overall fat and saturated fat compared to the other plant-based milks. But it tastes nice as well, doesn't it?
Well, yeah. So yeah, this is what's has been going on in my head, and why I had to pull Lizzie into this, because it's like this whole new world of like trying to understand fats and what they do. And oat milk.
Yeah, I love oat milk. That's what I was going to say. I'd actually prefer oat milk to coconut milk, just in terms of taste, not talking about nutrition. But yeah, oat milk. Oat milk is actually really high in protein, and it can be fortified much easier with vitamin D and calcium than the other plant-based milks. So for babies that are weaning that might have a cow milk protein allergy, oat milk is one of the ones that's said like you should offer your child that rather than sometimes soy milk, because people don't like it in terms of it increasing the amount of estrogen in the body. And coconut milk, there are certain brands, but it can be quite expensive. So in terms of when people come to me for recommendations when their babies can't have cow's milk, I will say oat milk is a good go-to.
Ah, see? Learn something new every day. So, cheese. Let's talk about my favorite pastime, cheese, because unless it's vegan cheese is coming from animals, right? So we're going to assume it's going to be high in saturated fats. What do I have? I have extra cheddar.
Extra mature cheddar?
Extra mature cheddar.
I was going to say, no one has extra cheese, come on.
Yeah, extra mature cheddar. I have some feta, Greek feta cheese. And my favorite, which is Mexican chili cheddar, which is almost like a curry in cheese form. So it's in Morrison's. So if you see it, get some. So
it's in most supermarkets, actually.
Is it? Well, clearly I only go to Morrison's. So in terms of stuff like cheese, since they are, because there's obviously with people becoming vegans and people kind of turning away from lots of animal products, I'm seeing a bit of a trend of like not having cheese and not having animal milk and not eating this kind of things. But nutritionally, is there a place for cheese in our lives?
Yeah, because I think that's something that I perhaps should have covered at the beginning. When looking at the nutritional value of any food, you've got to look at the food as a whole. So today we're talking about fats,
Mm.
but when I'm looking at cheese, I'm not just looking at as, okay, it's high in saturated fat. It's a really good way to get calcium into the diet, vitamin D into the diet. And then if you're having it with fat soluble vitamins, it's going to help you to be able to absorb those vitamins. So what's that? K A
Cade.
A.
This is how I remember. Cade
Yeah,
is fat.
yeah, I got it. Kade. Yeah.
Yeah, so Cade is fat. Those are your fat soluble vitamins. And that means because you have these lots of different types of vitamins. And I think my next topics are going to be on vitamins. You have water soluble vitamins. That means they can basically travel in your bloodstream. They can just get into your body without lots of help. But fat soluble, they're not able to get into your system. So they do need to basically be surrounded by fat to get in.
Mm-hmm.
So there's certain things that we eat, and if we don't have the fat, or we don't have enough like bile, which it contains most of the fat, to help it get in, it doesn't get in our system.
Exactly. So when we sprinkle a bit of cheese on top of our dinner or whatever, that's actually quite useful because it's helping our body absorb those vitamins. And something that I normally recommend is if you've got your veg, so if you've got like spinach or even like frozen mixed veg that you've just cooked or whatever, put in some butter or some oil on top of it before you eat it will help you utilize those vitamins and absorb them.
So guys, the nutritionist said, get your cheese on. It's
Yeah.
it helps. But of course, this is one of those everything in moderation. And just like you said, today we're focusing on fat, and something that people do, things that I've done is focus on, oh no, sugars are bad, carbohydrates are bad. So I have to make sure I cut out or lower the amount of carbs I'm having, which means when if you know a carb or a sugar or a fat, the thing you're trying to avoid is in a food, you avoid the food altogether.
Yeah, so like you're restricting yourself, do you mean?
Yeah, so you end up avoiding a food altogether because you've been told it has a carb, you've been told it has fat, you've been told it has this thing that you're trying to avoid. It, like you're saying, instead of looking at the food as a whole and what else it offers,
Mm.
because I don't think there's many foods that are just purely one nutrition. It's just pure fat or it's just pure carbs. I don't think, unless the closest thing I can think of is table sugar. That's probably one of those things which is like, yeah, it's a sugar. That's it's not going to have lots of other things in it.
And with that, you're not likely to eat that on its own. It's not like it's something that you add to something, like table sugar.
Mm.
It's so even so take a cake for example, you're mixing the sugar with the egg, with the oil or the fats or whatever you're adding in it. So it's never just sugar.
Yeah. So I guess it's trying to learn how to look at food as a whole,
Yeah,
or a certain
definitely.
food as a whole and what it offers.
Mm.
And yeah, trying to learn how to read food labels, because clearly you can compare things and you can see, like I was just doing like with the butters, you have different butters, and so they have, this one has less, this one has less saturated fat than this. So if trying to reduce the amount of saturated fats I'm having, clearly I would go to the one with less saturated fats in it.
Yeah, and like you're saying as well, it's really important not to cut out a particular food group as well. Like, if you're not sure about it, you could consult a nutritionist, or in terms of reputable places to look at it, like never just Google what you're looking for in terms of nutrition, because I always say this, if you Google something, you're going to find that answer
Mm.
somewhere. So good places are like the NHS website, and they have their eat well plate. And I think that's a really good representation in terms of looking at foods as a whole, because it's very visual and you're looking at it in terms of proportions of the food. So, you know, you mentioned the cheese, it will show you like an actual plate. I don't know if you've seen it before. It's like an actual plate, and it's got like almost half of your plate to be made up of fruit and veg or salad or stuff, and then it's got a proportion that'll be dairy, so like yogurts, cheese, milks, another proportion that'll be proteins, carbs, and it's got examples of it as well. And I think that's a much easier way to look at it in terms of just focusing on one particular thing, like you said. So just thinking, oh, fats, okay, fats are going to make me fat, because that's not necessarily true. And
Well,
our body needs fat.
there's another video I posted a while back where it's like fat make you fat, because that's logical. You take fat and it turns into the fat on you. The fat on our bodies, again, it's like we're talking about LDL, the bad cholesterol. It's not a poison. It's not waste. It's not like you're storing up something that's poisonous to your system. The fat that we keep on our body is stored energy. That's what fat is. So if you're to think of it like, yes, this this stomach is stored energy, and that means you've eaten food that has energy, and we can get our energy from carbs, from proteins, from fat. So that's what gives us energy. So if we take that in and we use that energy, then that's all good. But if we take those things in high amounts and then we don't use that energy, our body is going to store that energy. So it's not like fats make you fat, so you should cut out fats. Fat helps do so many things, including give us energy. And if you're not using up all that energy, of course, it's going to get stored up in your body, because that's what your body does. So this is also another thing of when I think we just pinpoint just one thing and try and villainize it, and like, oh, this is bad, you should turn away from it, you shouldn't do this. And it's like, we need to take a step back and look at overall how much in terms of energy are we putting in our bodies, and how much are we taking out, how much are we using up. And this is why, as many diets as I've tried to go on and I've heard of, energy in, energy out, what you eat and exercise, that it always comes down to that basic of how much energy are you using up. If you're not using enough all that energy in terms of what you're eating, your body is going to store it. You're going to add weight. It's going to store in your system.
And in terms of like diets and stuff, that's where restriction comes in, isn't it? And when we restrict our body, so say if we restrict our body from fats, when we start having them again, so you go on a diet, unless you're going to go on that diet for the rest of your life, there's basically no point, because when you stop the restrictions of that diet, your body is going to actually store those fats.
Because that's what your body does.
Yeah, because your body needs them, and it's like, oh, great, okay, I need to keep on to them. And so then that's how people get into, it's called a diet cycle. So they go on a diet, they aren't going to maintain it forever, so they stop it, start eating what they want again, and then they can't lose whatever they want to lose. They don't feel good about themselves, and so they go back on the diet, and it keeps on going around in a circle. So instead of restricting yourself, that's why, like, I'm quite happy. I have a baking business as well, and I will always promote having cake. I definitely advise having cake for breakfast on your birthday. I think that's the best thing. But
yes, because
like,
her and her husband run a beautiful bakery, and we did like a post-lockdown birthday surprise thing, and they had an amazing cake. And yeah, we were eating cake for breakfast. And I'm like, well, my nutritionist says I can have cake for breakfast.
but that's the thing. It's not about what I say. Like, it's about eating behaviors and how you feel within yourself. Because if you're always restricting yourself, like, that does damage in terms of your body, because you're if you then want to lose it, you're not going to be able to as easy. But it's the mindset around food as well. So like you said, if you thinking so negatively towards one particular type of food, so even like, so say with fats, say with cheese, like no, I'm not going to touch it. Like it brings like it can harm us. Like although it's not physical, it's mental, and then that can have an effect on our physical health as well. So
Thumbs up anyone who's ever been on a diet or 10
yeah,
like I have.
I've been on diets as well. I'm not here to say that I haven't, but it's more that I want to help people realize that we don't need to do that. Like we can have a bit of cake and it is totally fine.
And I think this is where the more I'm understanding the nutritional side of our health, the nutritional side of, because in the books when we study, you say, okay, a patient comes in and this is what the blood test is like, and they have this, and you know, if, let's say they have too much glucose or too much fat and all this stuff, it's like the next part is, you know, lifestyle changes, and you're supposed to tell the patient, you know, you're supposed to eat less sugar, eat less fat, exercise more, and it kind of ends there. And then it's like, but why? So I can give this advice and not understand why. And that's why the more I read into this, it's like, actually, if you understood kind of the reasons behind the food and why you're told to reduce them, and why it always comes down to changing your diet. And by changing your diet, it doesn't mean going on a diet. It means what we're talking about today, understanding that you can choose different foods that have less saturated fats. You can choose food that have less salt, stuff like that. It's more changing the way you eat and what you eat, not cutting things out, and exercise.
And you know what? It's never just food. Like with my clients, like I love talking about food, but it's never just food that we talk about. It's a lifestyle as a whole, like you're saying. So I know, like obviously doctors, especially like GPs in the UK, they don't have much time to like give nutritional counsel to patients. But in terms of how I deal with my clients, it's all personalized. Like I'm not gonna automatically look at somebody's BMI, for example. I don't work with BMI, but I'm not gonna look at it and be like, okay, well, you need to go to the gym X times a week. You need to cycle here, go running, blah blah blah. Like I need to know that person. I need to know like what they like to do, because even in terms of exercise, like all movement is a type of exercise. So there's no point doing it because you feel like you need to lose this fat, lose this weight, because you're then just if you don't like it, you're not going to continue it. And what's the point in that? So
so I think a lot of it, which for me, I say for a lot of people, but like for me specifically, it's kind of retraining and re-educating my mind on what's in our food, because I think unless you grew up with your interests of food and nutritional labels, I'm just like, this tastes good, I like it, so I'm just gonna eat it. I don't like that, I'm not gonna eat that. Like, don't tell, I'll eat what I want based on how it tastes. But now it's like, okay, try to understand why, what's in this food and what it does in our bodies. Then that way it's easier to make these choices. So yeah, it's trying to retrain that mindset of like, oh, that has fat, oh, we're not okay. No, actually it depends on the type of fat and depends on the amount, and actually I can take it. And oh, that has carbs, oh, but they said carbs are evil. Well, actually it depends on the type of carbs and what it does and how much I've had. So yeah, I hope that's something other people can do as well, because yeah, that's what I'm doing.
and it's a journey as well. Like I'm not here saying, oh, it's really easy, because especially Instagram, for example, like dieting apps and messages and images are just thrown in your face, aren't they? Like, and there's so much conflicting information and myths and everything around nutrition. That's why it's so important, if you are gonna work with a nutritional professional to ensure that they are a professional. I've got a thing that's saying we've only got 20 seconds left, so maybe we should wrap this up.
Okay.
So thanks everyone for tuning in. Mercy, 15 seconds.
Hold on. Can we wait? Let it go off and then we can come back on.
Okay, well, this is going to finish the video. That's going to save. So if you have any questions or you'd like to work with me, message me.